Hi guys, how are you? Welcome along. It is Inspire and Be Inspired, another motivational conversation. Today we are talking to a gentleman who's going to give us some insight into how he became a YouTube sensation. My very good friend Mr. Claudio Passavanti will be joining me very shortly. I just say thank you for being here live, and of course if you have any questions, we'd like to make this as interactive as possible, so please do feel free to leave some messages inside the YouTube chat. And as always, when you're picking up this recording, also feel free to leave any questions or comments, and myself and Claudio will be in touch. Without further ado, always a tentative start as I press my buttons and I go straight across and welcome along Dr. Mix, Claudio Passavanti. How are you, sir? You okay?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Live and direct from Roma, right?
That's right. It's going to be some kind of exclusive, because I've never made a video from Rome, let alone an interview live, and straight from my mom's house.
Beautiful. We love it. Okay, so already we have a few people with us. I'll say good evening to Jimmy, good evening to Pogwash, two gentlemen who are here bright and early because they want to hear everything that you've got to say. I'm not going to just go on and on. We need to get straight into this because we have a hell of a lot of information to try and cram into 60 minutes. I think we need to put some perspective on the conversation, right? We need to find out all about Claudio.
Yeah. So my name is Claudio Passavanti. I was born in Rome in 72. So I'm 51 nearly. And
does that sound strange to say that out loud?
Yeah. I don't know. Somehow being in Rome makes me want to say different things.
I hear that.
Yeah. And I was born with a fixation for piano. And just because in the room next door, my dad and my mom bought a Bontempi organ for my brother, who is 5 years older than me. I was only 3 at the time, and he wouldn't play it too much, but I would. And I got fixated with it to a surprising level. So I would constantly play it, and by the time I was 6, I was toying with recorders just pulling themes from the TV, recording them, and then trying to imitate the melody. And around that time, the Kraftwerk hit me. With the robots. They actually appeared on a show called Domenica In, which was like a variety show, Sunday afternoon, and they showed up dressed up as robots, and they sounded like
nothing you've ever heard before.
Nothing. They sounded like space. They sounded like the future. Also, of course, being from that generation, space age was a big thing, the Skylab and all the things about the moon. So naturally, I was smitten by it. And then my mom thought that it would be better if I studied piano. So they rented a piano and they got me a teacher when I was 9. And then basically I was studying piano and I was going to school. One day my teacher says, oh, I should mention that my brother is a big nerd and he got me into computers. So I became a nerd as well, and I started with the VIC-20 Commodore, and then later on with the Commodore 64, and I was doing basic programs like in the language basic. Mm-hmm. So I could get these computers to do basic rhythms, and they sounded like ooh, sh, ooh, ooh, sh, ooh, sh, ooh, ooh, sh, ooh, sh, ooh. That's all I could program, right? Because you could just say, turn on this oscillator, this volume, wait for 1 second or whatever, and then play this other oscillator. So it was literally a series of instructions. So that got me into computer music and synthesizers. My dad, for my 14th birthday, got me a synthesizer, very basic one, analog, and that's when I started really digging into electronic music, and I thought, ooh, I can do some Kraftwerk sounds here, you know. And then my piano teacher one day when I was 16, she said, listen, you're a bit of a geek, and I think you can program computers and drum machines, so I have this gig. I have to do like it was a TV advertising, a radio advertising, in fact. And, I have to do this theme, but I don't know how to program drums. Would you come to the studio? Of course. I went, and the owner of the studio said, yeah, what are you doing tomorrow? I'm going to school, sir. and they get, but not in the afternoon, you're not. And I said, no, so you can come work here. I guess so. So, and also I happened to, so in the afternoon, I started going to recording studio to do sessions. I was just programming computers and programming drums. We're talking about late 80s, early 90s at this stage. So then also my good friend, Georgia, who is a very famous and celebrated artist here, by pure chance, I had her as, next, she was in the same classroom, and she was next to me, literally. So we started playing at night. So in the morning, I would go to school. Afternoon, I would go to the recording studio. And at night, I would play gigs, and when I say gigs also, it could be, piano bar or bar mitzvahs or whatever, everything would go. So by the time I was 18, I had I was recording I had a job in the recording studio full time. And by the time I was 20, essentially I was finishing entire productions. My boss would introduce me to whatever artists. We would do a lot of TV work, a lot of summer tours, sort of background tracks for singers and stuff, and TV shows, lots of radio. So it was all kinds of stuff, but also, of course, discography. I mean, I wasn't working at super high levels, but we were in a recording studio in the middle of Rome. And at that time, if you knew music and computers, you had a job in the music industry.
Yeah.
These things don't happen anymore. But then, back then, before I knew, I was a full-time producer, and I thought that, at the same time, I liked jazz a lot. And, my boss introduced me to Quincy Jones, and I started understanding how cool that music was. And I always liked funk and soul, Earth, Wind and Fire. I would listen to a lot of Carlos Santana, but also classical music, of course, and whatever disco, because Italians are big disco heads, aren't they? Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of disco involved into this. And by the time I was 20, I decided that I had a little bit enough, and I wanted to get a degree in orchestra, because that's, I had, Quincy Jones, orchestra, that kind of stuff. I wanted to study that. So, and I was working. I was doing great money, man, because I was living in this house. Mm-hmm. So I had a full-time job. It was like 80s money, not today's money. The music industry was different then. So, put together some money, sold the car that I had, and went to America. My parents obviously helped me a little bit as well, but I did pretty much on my forces, and I got a degree in orchestra, and then I don't want to get too much ahead of myself, but then it basically I came back, and I did a lot of pop music. I played with every pop artist in Italy that you can think of, and then at 30 I decided to go to London because I wanted to pursue a career as an artist, which I did. And I started my Sunlight Square project, and that's the time where I met you. Mm-hmm. I have been knowing Andy for 20 years now. I think it's 20 years or
a little bit more. A little bit more.
Even more, yeah, exactly. So and Andy was, I mean, for me, Andy was. You were one of the first supporters, because I had a lot of experience as a producer, but not as an artist. And all of a sudden I was in London, and I was listening to this amazing music. I was listening to Giles Peterson, right? And all of a sudden I found out, gee, you can dance to jazz. Wow. Because, all I could hear here was like, back at, in the 80s, it would be, everybody, that was it. And I was a jazzer, I was listening to Herbie Hancock and Miles Davis, and I was pretty much spitting on dance music. For me, it was like, it wasn't until I was in London that I realized, holy crap, this stuff is cool. So, okay, so it's not the DJs are bad. It's just in Italy, I don't like those DJs. That's what it is. And then I started making music, getting inspired by Giles. And at some point, the industry in London started to play my stuff. And you were part of that. So, of course, people who follow your channel, of course, know who you are. and for me, it was amazing. Man, these British DJs are playing my music. And then, I started this conversation back and forth. And then I kept on surviving out of, making music for others. I just gave it a different name. Sunlight Square was my artistic name. Dr. Mix was, me as a producer, got a website to take jobs, basically online mixing and mastering and production. And at some point, the website starts happening. And all of a sudden, Sunlight Square starts happening again also. And then I said, well, listen, maybe I need to make some content to get more traffic to my Dr. Mix, and so that I can make some more money. And then the YouTube channel started going off, taking a life of its own.
So this must have been 2014, 2015 kind of times.
Or
a little bit earlier, maybe.
So yeah, I moved to London in 2002. My Sunlight Square project started in 2004 when I recorded my first album with Steve Gadd and Will Lee, my first Sunlight Square album. And then basically I had like a YouTube viral in 2005 called Simpsons versus Star Trek.
Okay.
But then it was like I was just experimenting. That channel was called Culture Killer. Because also I'm a silly boy, as you know, and so I liked to be funny. I did this theme playing The Simpsons, and I mixed it with a Star Trek. And then I played it on a theremin and with a funnel and Rhodes. It was ridiculous, but it went viral at the time.
But back then, sorry to interrupt you.
Absolutely.
Back then, there was no actual formula for people to say, when you are funny, you are going to get more views. That was just something that naturally you felt you wanted to do, right?
Correct. Because I basically, when it happened in 2005, I thought, oh, amazing, cool, but that's not. That's just a funny video. People like it. It went viral. Whatever. I keep on my Sunlight Square route, and then I started the new channel in 2012.
Okay.
As Dr. Mix, and I've produced 700 videos just for YouTube since then. And after a few years, it wasn't until 2013 I started the Dr. Mix channel, and it started going really well in 2016.
So my timeline was right. Let me pause you for 1 second because I want to say good evening to Schoolie. Mr. Soulful Session is here. He says hi. Citrica 2, he's asking, have you used a Scream tracker on MS-DOS? And he was also stating that 80s money is the best money. So if you are watching, guys, please do feel free to leave any comments, ask any questions. I am seeing them all. And when there's a break in the conversation, I will bring it up. Good evening to Mr. Paul as well. Okay, so Dr. Mix, what we want to focus on here is how once you started to get the momentum, you realized that you had a winning formula, so to speak. And if it was a conscious effort to double down on what was working for you, what wasn't working for you, some of the successes that continued, some of the brick walls that you hit, and then you thought, okay, let me try a different angle?
Absolutely. So just to answer Citricut 2, have I used Scream Tracker on MS-DOS? No, but the first program that I used was Pro 16 on the Commodore 64. It was the first MIDI that I used, and it was in the form of a tracker, like the Amiga program, the one that people would use to do drum and bass. So basically each line was a note, and it was the length of it, and so the tracker that I never really used too much. I went straight to Cubase 1 on Atari, just for the nerds out there.
I was going to say, you're getting into nerd territory there. Jimmy's asked quite a funny question. Let's not answer it now, but he says, are you wearing matching beads? We'll come on to that.
We'll come to that.
Okay, so if you can remember the question, what I was saying.
Cool. So yes, so I started consciously. So here's what happened. So my drmix.com website was working pretty well, and I was busy enough that I had to ask for some help to other people. But I was always I have a little bit of a entrepreneurial instinct. So I wanted to grow it, and so I hired a marketing expert, very expensive marketing expert, and I said, "Listen, I want to get more orders. Mixing and mastering is cool, but I want to get more orders. And we tried different ways, and then he said, "Listen, there is not much that I can make happen, but there is something that you should do. You should start selling digital products." And you should start making more content. You should start making content about it. So fine, good idea. I register Dr. Mix, and I start making videos that in my mind would just be instrumental to get customers through the door. So that was my intention. That's what got me started seriously, because for me, YouTube was just fun. The experience was fun, but I couldn't monetize it because there was no monetization, and being a YouTuber wasn't a thing at the time. So I started making content for the Dr. Mix channel, and the first piece of content that I made was how to export your material for online mixing, obviously. And then after 4 of these videos, Cubase, was Cubase, Ableton Live.
Reason, maybe?
Yeah, Reason or something like that. The main 4, whatever they were at the time. And then it said, what else am I going to do? Well, I got some very cool gear. Let's show it off, and let's show how it works. So the idea was, let's try and let people understand how these machines work. So I would literally put a camera in front of the gear, and you would see my hands operating it, and I was saying, "Hi, welcome to Dr. Mix. This is this great piece of gear, and here's how it sounds." And all you would see literally was a piece of gear and my hands. And I was even dubbing myself because I wasn't too confident. So I would just mimic the hands first, and then I would, comment with my voice. That's how shy I was. I wouldn't even, let alone showing my face, I wouldn't even show the rest of the studio because I didn't think it was professional enough, because it was still in my house. So it was a professional studio, don't get me wrong, the room was amazing, but it wasn't up to my standards of appreciation. So all you could see was that. So I do that for about 2 years, and 40 views, 100 views, 50 views, 250 views. Wow. So basically, after about 2 years, I was at maybe 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers. It was really hard. So I tried to be a little bit more lively and to show a little bit more, getting a little bit of confidence. And by year 4, probably I was at like a 10,000. So at some point, I meet this guy who makes synthesizers for the Queen Mary University of London. There's this synthesizer that was called Kaleidoscope. It looked amazing. He showed it to me on a picture. It was just by chance that I met this guy. So I said, why don't you come to the studio and show this big synthesizer? So we bring it there. I make a video about it. And for the first time, you can actually see my face for about less than a second. I thought maybe I can show my face on this one, but I would talk. Now, this video called The Crazy Synthesizer Demo, I posted on Facebook. And in about 1 month, it gets 15 million views. And I was like jaw dropped. And I thought, after a few months, I thought, maybe I should post this on YouTube as well. I wouldn't post it because YouTube was about mixing and mastering. It wasn't about synthesizers. So in my stupid mind, I thought that, I shouldn't put it. And then I thought, what the hell? I am going to put a copy on it on YouTube as well. 8 million, 9 million. I go from 10,000 to 30,000 in a span of a month. And I am speechless. I get a call. Ding. Who is it? It's Google. Can we talk to you? Okay, sure. I go to Google in King's Cross, St. Pancras, beautiful building. The girl says, listen, I don't know exactly what you did, but you spiked the word synthesizer in Google Trends. And she shows me that. And she goes, on our search engine, basically the word synthesizer went nuts because of your video. We will give you a few suggestions, a little bit of analysis. They give me a little bit of analysis and they say, I think you should make more videos about synthesizers. And I thought, well, if you say it, then I will. And there you go. I start making videos about synthesizer. Duh. I'm a keyboard player. Why didn't I do it before? Right? So, and this is to answer your question. I had a good occasion to change the course of what my plan was, because what actually worked wasn't what I was set out to do. And that capacity of analyzing the videos that you've made, how they perform, and adapt, and maybe, also naturally follow your best skills and have the humility of understanding you're trying to do this, but this works better. Why don't you do that? And that's what I did. I went all in on synthesizers, on music production, and everything that's around music making. And people reacted very well. And 4 years down the line, I celebrate now. 1 year down the line, 100,000 subscribers. 3 years down the line, 500,000 subscribers. And then, as you can imagine, my life changes completely. It's basically the success of YouTube not only shed a light on whatever I was doing as a musician, but it also created a new flow of revenue.
Well, I'm not ashamed to say that, having, as you've already mentioned in this conversation, having known you for 20 years and being a big fan of your music, I was pretty oblivious to the whole Dr. Mix thing, if I'm completely honest, until a few years ago. Obviously, your love for Kraftwerk is very apparent from the red shirt now. But the one of the questions that I wanted to ask you was, with the increased success and with the change of the direction, it was still all very organic. It wasn't like you've had to force something that you weren't really feeling, so it's all very, very natural for you. It was an easy sidestep to make.
Maybe it may look like that, but it wasn't easy.
Okay. Tell me more then.
Right. So firstly, despite being on stage the entirety of my life, I was YouTube shy, because now all of a sudden, it's not other people inviting me to stage and I am playing with them on or in front of big audiences. Now all of a sudden I was blowing my own horn,
And it
so
felt unnatural.
it felt like I was being a little bit full of it. It's like, why should I start celebrating myself? What have I done to deserve this? Right? Because, I mean, I tend to use a lot of good taste. I try, because I don't want to disappoint people. Of course we want to be liked. And as you said, I was at that point successful enough with Sunlight Square that I was making a living, that I didn't need to spoil it by doing something else, So it took a little bit of time for me to realize, hold on a second, that's still who I am. The hell with it. So, and if some people don't like that I'm celebrating myself, well, they just won't look at it, And if they have complaints, sue me.
Yeah.
But you have to get to that confidence, because the first time you put out content and you see a negative comment, you go, oh my God, they've understood that I'm a fake, that I'm an imposter.
Well, Pogwash literally just said imposter syndrome,
Imposter syndrome, exactly. So, hey, viral bits. this is from Dr. Mix. Hey, viral beats. Nice to see you. And so no, I had to work on it. And then at some point when I was successful enough that I was getting this, lots of compliments and lots of, adulation, which is it's a trap. Adulation is a trap. just so people know. I said, you know what? The hell with it. I'm going to be whoever I am. And I started being as silly as I was in my first viral video. And I started, just, me, I like to play a little bit of being silly. And if people want to think that I'm just silly, that's cool, because the really good people will listen to my music and they will go, So that's the kind of, the mentality that I have since then. It's like, I'm going to allow myself to be completely ridiculous. Hi, welcome to Dr. Mix. How you guys doing? What's my cavity? I can do whatever I want. And if people understand my music, then it's game. So when I became this confident, that's when it started. But it, again, it took me, I don't know, maybe 100 videos.
Would you say that your success was because of the persona the character that Dr. Mix became, or is it not just about the content then?
People react to honesty, man. Listen, you're a music maker. You're a DJ. You know exactly how this works. People react to if you are genuine, if you can't lie with music.
Authenticity is the main word here.
Authenticity is the word. It's like when you record in the recording studio, that microphone is not an instrument that you try to play. That microphone documents what happened in the room. And if you are performing just because you want to be famous, or just because you like the adulation, or because you want to be recognized, it shows, man. If you do it for a genuine reason, because you love your craft, because you are into the music and you respect profoundly the music, then you can be as silly as you want. Your motive needs to be right. Your state of mind, your intentions matter, and that comes across. So when I understood that, then it started working.
Beautiful. I love that. AG Project says, hi, Dr. Mix. I'm a big fan. Thank you very much for passing through. You touched briefly and said about how your life changed because, and also during the process of your rise, YouTube itself completely transformed into a whole different monster. So the whole monetization model kicked in, endorsements kicked in, sponsorships kick in. So I did ask you before we went live. I did state that I was going to ask to talk to you ever so briefly about, what this means in terms of monetization, with regards to whether it's sponsorship or your subscribers or your click-throughs and whatever. So in as little or as much detail as you want, tell us about life as a YouTube sensation.
100%. So firstly, the monetization thing is probably the thing that I get asked the most from people in general, but especially by taxi drivers. Because they usually ask. So I mean, they see me, maybe I'm going around with a DJ bag, or with synthesizers and stuff, and they understand that I'm an artist, and they say, hey, what do you do? And I usually say, just to give them context, I'm a YouTuber. How much do you earn as you're a YouTuber? So let me give it a bit of context. So there is no formula. How many views do you get? How much money does it make? It doesn't work like that. So, for example, if I make content, let me see one way to put it. Okay, during Christmas time, advertisers want to sell a lot. So they will spend a lot on YouTube advertising. So during Christmas time, your YouTube revenue will be more. Get it? If you're making videos about sneezing cats, right? There's not much that advertisers would like to pay for it. What are you going to sell? Okay, maybe cat food, fine, but it's really too generic. On the other hand, if you have a YouTube channel about fitness, now it's supplements, now it's gym subscriptions, now it's you fill in the blanks. If you it depends on the subject, and also if I swear constantly, advertisers may not want to be advertising on that. Mm-hmm. So if you have tried YouTube ads, and you've tried to actually put out some ads, the questions that you're asked. Would you like to advertise on channels that have controversial subjects? Obviously, you don't want to say yes. You want to say no. How about if this is about politics? What about if this is about conspiracy theories? What about if this is about, being sexy? What about if this is, content that is full of swearing? And maybe you're making, toys for adults to buy to their children. Definitely, they don't want to be associated with somebody. So somebody that is like too controversial or that is too strong as content. So all of these things have an effect on how much money you will make. If you use other people's music, most likely somebody else is going to monetize your stuff. Maybe if you're doing covers, then you may get half monetizations. So again, 1,000 subscribers, 1,000 views doesn't equal to $1 or whatever the myth is. I get about 1 million to 2 million every month, and my monetization goes anything between 2 and 3 grand.
I was going to say £1 million to £2 million a month. I was like, okay, come on now.
We would be having a completely different conversation if that was the case.
Come on now. Okay, so $1 million equates to 1,000, 2,000 a month.
Anything between 2 and 3 grand UK GBP, but it varies a lot. Now, again, the sponsorships is a completely different game. And again, it depends on what kind of content you're making. So if you're a neurosurgeon and you're taking the camera in the operating theater, you will probably not get sponsors. However, that one, the boss of MIT may call you for a, I don't know, for a talk,
For a lecture, yeah.
for a
Fly you over for a
lecture,
lecture.
and they may pay you 50 grand, which is money I will never see as a YouTuber myself, right? So again, it depends. But in general, generally speaking, there is more money in the sponsorships and product placements that there is on just the YouTube monetization.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I totally get that. Well, thank you for giving us that frank answer. A lot of people were just chuckling then, as surprised as me. Paul Rosinski says, what was he saying? And he was rubbing his hands together when he heard that. That's all cool. So we touched on that. One question that I want to ask you, because there are a lot of creatives watching this, whether they're DJs, producers, musicians.
Yes.
The success that you attained with Dr. Mix.
Yeah.
You must have then thought, okay, I've got the formula. I am now going to bring this across to Sunlight Square. And I guarantee that it wasn't as easy to just replicate that success, right?
So I am, so let's see. Because, I mean, to be honest with you, you know that I've been making a living as Sunlight Square way before the Dr. Mix thing even was a thing, right? So, I mean, when I released I Believe in Miracles, right, which is up to the day the most famous track that I've done, that sold, let's see, I've sold, I think in total between CDs and vinyl, I probably sold more than 10,000 copies, which, you know, in 2010, it was a lot, especially because it was my own label, right? So a CD at the time cost £1 to produce, and PPD, dealer price, and you know, knows what I'm talking about, was about what, $5-6, £5-6. And that was, I'm with Kudos, right? So at the time, I sold 3,000 copies of that. So that was 15 grand straight up. So it's not like I wasn't making money with Sunlight Square. I could make a living. It was okay. I mean, yeah, let alone that song, that is song number 10 of album number 4. So let alone how much I have spent on the previous ones before I get that. So it's not like, hey, boom, Christmas time. Musicians who make art, who try to make art, have a tough life. So I was making a living also because I was producing music for others as well. So I wasn't really struggling. But when Dr. Mix kicked in, basically, it also shed a light on the music that I was making. Because, of course, the underlying story of Dr. Mix is how to become a successful musician without being necessarily like a top #1 player like Herbie Hancock, and without having to compromise and sell out. You know, so that I think that's the reason why people get attached to the channel, because I try to be as open as possible and give as much value as possible, so that other brother musicians and sister musicians like me can do the same thing. And I'm gonna take a little parenthesis to talk about you.
Okay. Because
I am very, very impressed by what you're doing. I mean, we're not, we're not early birds, and you decided to take on YouTube and take on social media and take on content production hard. And just a few months after, you are seeing the fruits of this work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like to think that there is something that you picked up from my story to say, hey, I'm sure that to some degree you must have seen, wait a second, if Claudio is doing this and he's being so successful, maybe I should try and do this myself. So even if a little bit of that, even if I tip over just a little bit in 5 or 6 people of all the 500,000 subscribers more that are following me, if I can tip them over into making more content and get the benefits of it, man, my job is done.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, mate. So incredibly inspirational, from your, as I say, before really paying any attention to Dr. Mix, even when I brought you over to Vocal Booth Weekender, you walk in with your camera, the vlogging. I don't even think I knew about Dr. Mix then, it's insane. So that to see that side of it and to be a part of that, so many people are excited to be in your video. So, and the good thing is you are very humble with it as well, which is important. You're authentic, and you're very transparent as well, which means people will buy into you and they relate to you as well, because that's the important thing. If you seem in a world that's unattainable, unreachable, and that's one of the reasons why I think your videos are so successful, because you say, okay, let's strip this down, let's break this down, let me show you how you can get this sound. It's all, I think a couple of words that I said there, relatable and authentic, are really, really important.
Yeah, I mean, and
thank you for your kind words as well, by the way.
Sure. No, I mean, you don't. I mean, you are so successful in your own right that I don't need to blow that trumpet. But I mean, who knows? Who you are and how British broadcasting, DJing, and production and taste making. These are things that you work out on your reputation, and professional musicians like us know how important reputation is, right? So that's pretty much all you have. If you start getting high on your own supply, one, you look like an ass, number one. Number two, it just shows that you're afraid, that you're fearful, because maybe, now that you've obtained a little bit of visibility, now you think, ooh, do you know what? I am good. I'm good. I'm not an imposter. You know what? Yeah, I think I'm somebody. Just because underneath you're really scared that that's going to go away. And you think that if you start being, behaving like that it's going to make you more successful, when in actual fact, I think is exactly the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also it's important to say that, let's face it, people's attention is on this device. Look around yourself, everyone is on that. Go on the bus, go on the streets, go everywhere. People are on this machine, and so are we. There's nothing wrong with it. I have never demonized technology. I've embraced the sampler when it came in. I wasn't the type of people, ooh, you're not artists, you are sampling other people's music and you're just rapping on top of it. What is it? This is the disgrace. You shouldn't do it. Some people were complaining. Some people were making hip hop happen. Same thing with MIDI, bass players. Oh my God. Drummers with drum machines. We will never accept drum machines. You are stealing our jobs. Some people complain, some people embrace.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, I don't need to tell you who are the people who are going to win,
exactly.
Right? So you may be complaining about the fact that we don't sell any more vinyl, although clearly your back says differently. And people's attention is on this thing, and they only listen to Spotify and whatever, and watching YouTube. But hey, you're an entertainer. If you don't show up on stage, who's going to look at you? If this is the stage, you better show up on it. So if you're a good artist, good for you. If you're not a good artist, I'm sorry for you, but you still need to make content. And I can assure you that if you are an average okay artist with content, you will do a lot better than a great artist that nobody knows
no content
exists.
Well, that's a brilliant point, and it's one of the things that I wanted to drive home. So many people who are, maybe to say stuck in the past is the wrong way of putting it across, but they believe that their talent, because they can match two pieces of vinyl together at the right tempo for 2 minutes straight, that's going to take them into worldwide superstardom. But they don't want their face seen because, that's not really for them. And it's just like, come on, really? There's so many people out there doing this now that you don't need to do it in an arrogant way, but you do have to be able to present yourself and separate yourself from the rest of the world, right?
100%. I mean, this is the default position of the artist. Tell you a secret. Why did I call it Sunlight Square? Because it's an artist name.
Mm-hmm. And you wanted to hide behind it.
I am going to be the mysterious producer behind this piece of genius. But then if it doesn't work, I've got nothing to do with it. This is called Sunlight Square. It's not even me at all.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So, and that's why a lot of people, and that was a mistake, it's a genuine mistake. That is the default mistake that every artist makes. People identify with people. They don't identify with things or whatever. You need to be yourself. You need to tell me your story. I mean, unless and you need to make content about that, unless you don't care for being relevant with today's attention. You're free not to do it.
Brilliant observation there. And you say about attention, that's a word I have written down on my piece of paper. What are your feelings towards the trend or just the general movement towards less attention spans, more rapid paced content? There's two parts to this question I need to try and get out of my head. First of all, I'm sure you're happy with it because I see you making the content and you adapt really well. But are we getting left behind because the new content is being directed only to a younger generation, and people of our generation don't necessarily need such snappy, fast-paced content? Right. I hope there was a general question in there.
It's amazing because your questions are exactly on par with what most people think. So let me address this in different ways. So number one, there is nothing wrong with long form content. The thing is, you got to make it interesting. Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, 3 hours podcasts, video podcasts, 3 hours. He has no problems with snappy content. He's definitely not high energy. Joe Rogan is. Lex Friedman is not. So good content is good content. So that's number one. Number two, these youngsters have no attention span. We used to sit down with a vinyl, listen to one side, and then flip the record and listen to the other side and, listen to it, immerse into it. And so that's the thing. People get romantic about the past. So if pop music is what got me through my 30s, I knew that pop music was not what was gonna get me after that. So I was looking for things. I was looking for the internet. I joined the internet in 1995. I was curious. Emails. I started in 1997. I registered my last name .com and .it. I didn't know why, but I knew. I have this advantage because I am curious and I get bored easy.
Is this mother?
So, give you an example. My colleagues, bass players, drummers, back in the Italian pop scene, right? So it's the 90s. I'm playing with Zucchero, Pino Daniele, Andrea Bocelli, Saturday Night Show, national TV, keyboard player, in-house band. I am playing everywhere. I'm touring every summer. We get paid well. And then at some point, towards notice, things start changing. So now there is Facebook and there is Instagram. And now my friends are getting a little bit older, and they start complaining because now the gigs, there aren't too many gigs. They have become too expensive. And now there are younger session players who are on Facebook, who are on Insta. They look younger than you. They look better than you. They definitely don't play as well as you. But they're out there and people see them. They get booked. So I get my peers saying, this internet, this thing, that we've been doing all these great records, we've been playing, and now they get gigs just because they show up on Insta and they don't even know how to play as good as me. What the hell? My answer is, why aren't you not on Insta, you dumb? Just get on Instagram and start, shave your beard, whatever. I dye my beard, mate. Younger. You want me to be open? There you go, internet. I'm open. So
Wonderful.
Try to look good. Go to the gym. And don't be romantic about how you got famous in the music business, because what got you famous doesn't exist anymore. If you keep on being romantic about it, that's not going to happen. It's another thing that will get you to the next. I know that YouTube is what got me here. And I know that what's going to get me next is Web3. Sorry, I may be wrong. But people thought I was nuts while I was with my camera in my room making videos about, playing funnels and theremins. My wife thought I was nuts. And she's right, given.
I was going to say, she's not wrong.
No, she's not wrong at all. But I was curious. Man, I've worked on MySpace for a long time. And I was kind of successful on MySpace. Then it died. I didn't cry. I didn't get romantic. I just went to the next thing, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'm going to try the next one. Mm-hmm. And
so saying that, what about if, and I'm conscious of, we need to be aware of the time, people who have a certain style of music that is only relevant, for want of a better word, to our generation, because young kids, and I was having this conversation with my very good friend Simon yesterday. Young kids don't really care about us until we're not here anymore, and then it's going to be like, oh, woe is me, they were the best DJ in the world and now they're dead. It's like, well, yeah, but I can't get a booking while I'm alive. So I lost my train of thought where I was saying, but people who aren't interested in appealing to the younger crowd, who may say, to your point there, but I don't really want to adapt. I'm just happy to stay in my lane.
You should stay in your lane. I mean, I think you should stick to your guns. Look, I may produce any kind of music with my music production service. I can probably go 10 minutes over, by the way. Okay. And I am curious about new music. I'm studying hard bass as much as I'm studying whatever else. But when it comes to artistic choices, I stick to my guns, and you know it. Mm-hmm. So it's soul, it's funk, it's disco, it's house, it's jazz, it's Latin, it's Cuban, it's African. I love that stuff. And I don't care about fashion. I stick to my guns. I wait for fashion to catch up with me. Because this, you know it. The same song, you hear it every 10 years. It's mathematical. You know, that one song you hear it in the 90s, and then you hear another version in the 90s, and then in the 10s, and then it goes around. Plus, it's not true that funk and soul and the old stuff that we like and nobody else likes it. Hey, I don't know. Let's talk about Wolfpack. You may not know who they are. If you don't, check them out. They are YouTubers, pretty much. They are soul, funk, retro, disco type of guys, and they fill up the Madison Square Garden by themselves. So I don't believe that there are styles of music and good music and old music and new music. There are only two kinds of music:
good and
bad and good.
I hear that. Well, you say that about Wolfpack. You say that about Wolfpack. I mean, I've been so immersed in YouTube, learning about improving different ways that you can tweak. I'm not torn because I'm never ever going to make a decision that goes against what I'm about. I will look at things and think, okay, just by adapting, by improving, by changing an angle. But all of a sudden now I'm not going to start trying to interview the hottest names to get myself more viewers or whatever, because that's not what I'm about. You know, you got to stick to your guns. But at the same time, it is about being aware of paying attention to what works, what doesn't work. And, you know.
Yes. Well, look, I'll be honest with you. The reason why my videos look the way they look is because of a YouTuber called Casey Neistat. My vlogging style is lifted 100% from Casey Neistat. My marketing.
He's a name that I only really heard about in the last 3 months. I never knew who Mr. Beast was 6 months ago.
Right.
It's crazy.
I mean, not that, you know, like Mr. Beast, I know of him. I see his videos and respect, and I study the people who study their videos. But like, you know, I lift that stuff from Casey Neistat, my vlogging style, 100%. Of course, it's me then. You know, it's my jokes, it's my face, it's my style. But I'm lifting that. For my marketing, it's all Gary V.
Mr. Vaynerchuk. Mr. Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, Gary Vaynerchuk. And then we're going to talk about this before I'm left.
Okay.
Yeah. Gary V is a very famous Russian-American entrepreneur who is a very famous influencer, and I have watched his videos constantly, every day, incessantly for 3 years. The first time, you know, after about 4 or 5 months, I was listening to him. By this time, I had a sound engineer full-time, and I had another producer full-time, and I would make around 1 or 2 videos a month, and I would make it all by myself because we were all busy making music. We're talking about Dr. Mix Studio, right? I had 2 employees at the time, and I was barely making it even, barely. Because of course, I mean, then you start making a little bit of money, but then you keep on investing on your company. So you hire people, you hire talent so that you can produce more and make more money, right? So, and I was just, you know, I could survive. My family lived off it. My employees lived off it. Oh, fine. But I couldn't grow anymore. And at some point, I'm looking at this video from Gary Vaynerchuk, and he says, listen, if you want to stay relevant in today's world of internet, you have to understand that you are first a media company, comma, wine seller, comma, DJ, comma, selling sports, comma, you want to become the mayor of your town, comma, whatever you want to do, that comes after you becoming a content making machine. I resonated with that so much that I hired a full-time video producer on the same day. I hired the girlfriend of one of my employees who she was, she wanted to be a filmmaker. She couldn't manage to make it, but she was good. I hired her full-time without having money to pay her. And I said, I'll figure that out later. So I went from 2 videos a month to 2 videos a week. That's how I got to 10,000. That's how I got to 10,000 from 3,000. I started making a lot more content. And that's because I have studied extensively videos on how to become good at YouTube. Mm-hmm. So right now, I am just following Web3 stuff so that people know, because I think that the internet is evolving, AI is changing. I am experimenting with AI. I have just downloaded my first AI program. I'm starting to understand how it works, neural networks, flow, input, output, and I'm trying to understand how to best use it for my company. I never stop. I study, how to make better YouTube videos, how to make better thumbnails, it's all I can think of.
That was me. During the pandemic, I was sitting playing on my Xbox, and then of an evening, I was watching streamers playing on the Xbox. Now, I'm studying YouTube in the day, and on the evening, I'm studying YouTube on the night, because it's all part of the creative process. And as you say, you can see the changes in it's been like 2 months really since I've started pushing and learning, and it's so enriching the creative process. And I'm just at the beginning of this journey. I don't have intentions to become as huge as you, but I do know this is going somewhere, So tell us about these. Come on, tell us about these.
So these. So the idea of being very personal, the idea of being customized is something that I took from Casey Neistat. So he customizes everything. So, I started, firstly, I started, wearing rings I've done for like decades. So I wanted to have stuff that it was just me. And sometimes, how, some Afro house DJs have like these nice beads, and I couldn't find them. So I started, what? I want to build it. How hard can it be? So I start starting beads made of wood. Oh, so maybe I should start stain them with coffee, stain them with watercolor, stain them with whatever. And then maybe I got into it. So I started making them. And then, some DJs started asking, where do you get those? I love those. And I said, what? I have mine. I can make one more. And I did it once. And then I realized that this thing was some kind of family thing. It's like it started becoming kind of our thing. So I started exchanging beads, and I exchanged beads with Ocean Latte. I exchanged beads with all the DJs from Mikasa Holiday, West Coast Weekend, ADE people. At some point, I decided, I'm gonna make beads specifically for a DJ that I like, and so I started gifting them, and that is the one that I gifted to you specifically.
I wore it with pride this evening during this conversation. One of the things that I really relate to, and that's a beautiful story, and I'm sure many people are going to be, every time they meet you, they're going to be like, does he like me enough to give me his beads? Which is not a euphemism, by the way.
Yeah,
one thing I related to there.
I gotta like you as a DJ. I need to like you as or even just as a human being. I really need to like you for me to say, okay, I'm going to, because if I think of you in my head and I love you, then it's inevitable that I want to gift it to you, and I'm gonna make it for you. So
I relate to that 100%, because with myself, as with yourself, there's no real profit initiative. There's no, backstory aim for you to make the money. That's exactly the same as what I've been doing for many years at Vocal Booth, going out of my way to find exclusive content that we can give to people, so it's one of a kind. So as you will be aware, this year with the jackets, with the bags, just to let people know that you're thinking enough of them to make them feel part of a community. Because for everything else in the world, and most people watching this will know, my ethos is it's all about the community, right? It's all about community.
100%, man. This is about sharing the music that we love, and whether you're a musician or you run a business, or you run a channel, or you have a family and you're a father. The concept is simple. Love starts from you. And if you manage to extend it to the people who are close to you, and maybe it's your family, or maybe it's your employees or your co-workers, then there is a chance that love extends to your customer. And the same thing if you're a DJ, if you have enough love for it to use your time to select the best music, to really use time to go through all those records and say, tonight I'm going to play you this one and you're going to love it because this is such a cool track. When I found out about it, oh man. So it's just with that love that you play that track to people, and then people look at you and they go, what the hell did he play that night? Yeah, I know, I've been looking for tracks like this my entire life, and here it is for you. So that sort of love that starts from a genuine place of love for music or love for whatever you're doing inevitably trickles through, and it extends, and then it becomes all about the community and all the love that you give them, let alone the love that you give back, because we know we're going to get that. But it's all about you make a life with what you get. You make a living with what you get, but you make a life with what you give.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that. That's a great way for us to start wrapping up, because time is of the essence. So for the one or two people who may be living under a rock, where do we direct them to come and find you and check out some of your incredible videos that have amassed? Do you know off the top of your head in total how many millions of views, more or less?
I think something like 115 million.
Crazy. Insane.
It's youtube.com/@Dr. Mix. And if you're curious to know the music that I make as an artist, then all you need to do is Google Sunlight Square. Sunlight Square as one word. And you know what I'm going to do just quickly? I'm going to answer some of these questions. Web3, crypto is part of it, but the concept of blockchain is what really will change everything. I'm not into the speculation of it. I'm into the technology of it. It's like a little bit saying that I'm into YouTube for the money, for the monetization. I'm not into YouTube for the monetization. I didn't get that, for a long time. So no, it's not about crypto. It is a little bit about crypto as well, but I'm more interested in the technology. So I hope I didn't miss any important questions.
No, I've been paying attention. People are just listening intently. It was a pleasure to get some of your knowledge. It was a pleasure to hear about your journey. And, people should definitely go and check it out. Some incredible records, deconstructed, some incredible equipment unearthed. The latest video that I watched, the 10 world's most expensive synthesizers, insane. And I love the character that you're becoming. And
I'm sure you have appreciated the chicken.
Oh, without a shot, it was so funny. The best one was when you're looking at the wave analyzer and you're like, what? And then the chicken. It's beautiful. It was great. Listen, we could talk all evening, but I know you have other plans, my friend. Thank you for giving me your time. Enjoy the rest of family life in Rome, and we will be in touch.
Thank you, Andy Ward. I love you, and I have for a long time. And every time you want me on the show, just say the word and I'll show up.
Beautiful. Thank you for that, my friend.
Yeah.
Take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Ah, wonderful. Okay, so away goes Claudio to enjoy the evening with his mother. Thank you to everybody for being here. As always, I know we do get a lot more people coming back and checking out the recording, so please do feel free to leave any comments or ask Claudio any questions, and he will get around to answering them. I'm just going to take 5 seconds to decompress, because I say this, or I think this after a lot of my chats, and I always feel that I'm in a rush to get off air. So I'm just going to have 5 minutes. The chat's done. If you want to hang around, I've just got a few more words to share with you. So I'll give you a chance to log off. If you're still here, then let me just say hello to you. Thank you to Viral Beats again, a big fan of Dr. Mix, and to Jay. Good evening, Jay. To AG Project, thank you, my friend. To Julie B, and to John Rogers as well. Thank you. Many names here. Mr. Jimmy Mack as well. Soulful Session. Many names who are big supporters of my own channel. So yeah, I am currently on this road to increasing my productivity. I'm on the road to increasing the content that I share. I'm sort of torn between wanting to make different content for the sake of it, but at the end of the day, it's all about this music that we know and love, right? And talking to incredible people along the way. One incredible person you can see on the screen here is Mr. Paul Farris from Uptown Records. I say from Uptown Records. He's the gentleman who was responsible for bringing Uptown to London. He was also responsible for one of the biggest forums in the house music scene way before Facebook became a thing. And it was the kind of death knell for the forums. Farris Forums, world famous, and now Paul is living down under, and he himself has an incredibly successful photography based YouTube channel, but we're going to be talking mainly about music, and that's going to be next Monday, so do come and join us. Thank you, Wayne, for your comments. Thank you, Emily. I saw you commenting earlier. That was nice to have you along. And Julie says, I love where the channel is going. Yeah, I'm loving it too. I have invested this week in a couple more bits and pieces. And as time progresses, I'm going to be taking the radio show out live down to the beach. I have the facility to do some more live talks out and about, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's all I really wanted to share with you today. Feel free, if you enjoyed this, to give me a like. The reason why your content creators are always asking you for a like, for a thumbs up, for a subscription to the channel, there's no point having subscribers if they're not going to come back and watch it again. But what it does do is it lets YouTube know that you have enjoyed the content, and it will make sure to bring up any of our posts, any of notifications when we go live, and you can be sure not to miss anything. Go and take a look on my wall, see some of the incredible interviews that I've amassed over the last 2 years, and please, if you feel that you liked it enough, do share it with your friends. Thank you, guys. Love you loads. I am going to go and get some food and my belly. Right, I'll see you later. You be good to yourselves now. Take care.